understanding America, not just understanding what we were forced to build in America. No matter if you feel we were brought here, no matter if you feel we were being here, the common thing we got about being here, we were all treated like trash. Whether we were brought here over on boats, whether we believe that, or whether we believe that we were just here. We was here, and you know, we was just here. I want you to understand, because sometimes I feel like this whole thing is just kind of fantasy in a way. And what do I mean when I say fantasy? Because most people that subscribe to this FBA, Black American, ADOS, wherever you at on that line, Mark, you're either gonna look at it two ways. You're gonna look at it with disdain for anybody, like it's a set, like you gangbanging. You're gonna look at it with disdain for anybody that's not in your set, right? You're gonna look at it because you're conditioned by America. This is why we love the way we love. This is why we love our women the way we love our women. This is why we love our children and treat our children the way we treat our children. This is why we love our men the way we love our men, the way the women love on us, because everybody was conditioned to love through westernized or American standards of love and behavior. Right? So despite you saying, you black and you been here, your grandmama told you this, you built this country. You ain't got to go nowhere. Fine. I ain't tripping on that. What I want you to understand is from a directional standpoint of, if you still don't get it, if you still don't get the small hat, it's dangerous. If you still don't get the white boy and the white girl, it's dangerous. If you still don't get the Arab, it's dangerous, and they don't like you, just like y'all say, Africans don't like us. It's funny because even that's a trained thing. It's funny how you can split that line and you could watch for the longest the mistreatment, police brutality, Karens following people, getting our people hung up, strung up, unalived, whatever. You can watch that over and over. You can watch umpteen Karen videos. You can watch a lot of this, but you still won't draw that line and say collectively how white folks feel about you. Right? Because your GPS don't permit that. You still think when you get some money, you want to move further away from your people as possible, and that make you safe. See, if you got your cultural GPS, and please don't swagger jack my stuff, there's only one other person that I know specifically that I told and heard use my phrase outside of me. And she's somebody that I thought was a good friend, but I don't worry about her doing nothing with it. But anyway, if your GPS, if you had a cultural GPS that actually worked, you wouldn't send your children to predominantly white institutions for a good education. If your GPS worked, you wouldn't end up like that dear good sister Tamala Horsford that was at a party with all white folks and ended up unalive, and they didn't have no answer. They don't know what happened to her. If your cultural GPS work, you're not just lollygagging through sundown towns or just all white neighborhoods past a certain point, because you have some sense of awareness. So it's just like when you're using your regular GPS and they say, turn here or stall vehicle on this side of the road. Or they're going to tell you an accident is ahead of the road. They're letting you know danger ahead of time, or they're letting you know danger is around you. But you don't have no cultural understanding in America because you are more American than you anything else. You just black and you happen to be in America. Right? So if you want to stay here, this is not what I'm saying. Because I had people that got in my live other day and they said, well, are you saying foundational black American is bad? I never said that. How it's being weaponized and used is bad. How it's being used to draw these lines while ICE is busy and this presidency is busy building concentration camps. And we're busy talking about the black Americans. um, immigrants, these non-foundational Black Americans. Your focus is on the wrong thing, right? Because you still don't have an understanding of who your enemy is. You still thinking your enemy is the Africans over there. They're still misguided, thinking that we're the enemies here. Because what it's like a family argument, and you got somebody in the middle stirring the pot, and there's a big pot of shit in the pot, and you stir shit long enough, it does what? It stinks, right? So you got this middleman that's controlling through propaganda and controlling through all of these things, saying, "Oh, they don't like y'all. Oh, well, they don't like y'all," and it keeps us infighting. And I'm always saying this: whenever I use the white boy as example of how they behave and treat each other, it's never to put them above us and say, "Look how well behaved." Because anybody that know history know the white boy is the least thing that's well behaved. But they're going to always project and put on to you like a struggling rapper that's going to pretend he got it when he really don't. So what white America is really good is pretending and projecting that they're more than what they are. They abuse their women. They abandon their children. It's just not hyped the way it is with us, because everything we do, I'm African. So I might say Black people, but everything we do as Black people, we do it with style, we do it with grace. Even in our degeneracy, we do it with style and grace, right? And that's why we're so marketable to them, right? So I found this clip right here, and I'm gonna play this. Found this interesting by Muhammad Ali, and I want y'all to hear what he's saying in this.
Took us for years and hung us up with the feet and stuck a
Hold
Got a book called 100 Years of Lynching written by white men. Taking Black women who was 4 months pregnant, they took us for years and hung us up with the feet and stuck a dagger in the stomach and ripped it and pulled the unborn baby out just to put fear in other slaves. They tied up Black people to horses, and 2 horses, and pulled his arms out and pulled his legs out. Lemonade trains of white children, the white people of America used to come and watch them tie 10 or 15 Black men and pour gasoline on them and burn them, watch them burn alive. They took us and hung us up with trees and shot us with bullets. They took and cut a hand off and gave it to the little boy and they took the leg off. And this is worse than the devil.
All right, but
see, the devil, the preacher in the church taught us the devil was up under the ground.
Right.
And he'll wait till he died before he burned us up. This white devil in America was worse because he burned us while we was alive. He didn't wait till we died. So what I'm trying to say is the deeds and the works. And I think this: if Elijah Muhammad can stand in America for 42 years before my little black self was born and say that the American white man is the devil, then the white man should get up and say you are a lie.
Now one more time.
Got a book called 100 Years of Lynching written by white men. Taking Black women who was 4 months pregnant, they took us for years and hung them.
Now I just want you to get this, because like I was telling them on my live the other day, this is Black American history. This is foundational Black American history. This is American descendants of slaves history right here. And am I saying stay in this traumatized state? No. But if you know I wear a chain around my neck, it's a Sankofa, it's an Adinkra symbol. And what it represents is going back and bringing it forward. Go back in the future to understand, in the past to understand who you are in the now and who you can be in the future. Right? So it's more than just about being American and being here. Got no problem with it. I've been here. My ancestors been here too. But I don't suffer from an identity crisis. I don't get so charged up when I hear African lineage. Right? But let me read you something. And I found it very interesting when I came across and had to save that. But let me read you something. And this is written by a small hat Ralph Ginsburg, a Jew named Ralph Ginsburg. So like I said in my other live the other morning, if you upset, take it up with Ralph Ginsburg. Do not come at me. Hey, I can't wear chains. They always break you out. Depends on how they are. But yeah, I have one that I always wear, and that's what that is. That's an Adinkra symbol. And it always just let me know. I got a lot of different ones, but that's one of my favorite ones. And again, thank you for your support. Let me know if you have an IG, because I really would like to work with you or get your perspective on some things. But let me read this. And about this right here, this book is straight up news articles. I didn't write this. Again, I didn't write this. This not come from me. And this one is out of the Springfield, Massachusetts Weekly Republican. And if I squint again, if anybody been in my live and I'm squinting or I'm slowing up, I need glasses. I'm working on that. So, and this just comes from doing a lot of reading in different fonts over the years, and reading can take toll on your eyes, right? But I would rather have these type problems than to just be not reading the book. Now, listen to this. Negro burned alive in Florida. Second Negro then hanged. Noonan, Georgia. April 23rd, Sam Hope. And before I read this and break this down, I want you to pay attention to the labeling. We're going to talk about the labeling and how they word stuff in their writing of their news. We're going to get into that. April 23rd, Sam Hope, the murderer of Alfred Cranford and the ravager of the latter's wife, was burned at the stake near Noonan, Georgia, this afternoon in the presence of 2,000 people. Now, what did Muhammad Ali just say? They would gather around and witness these type of shows. So when the white boys sit here and tell you how savage you are, and they tell you how black on black crime works, think about this. Think about the sadistic psychopath that can sit around, and they had their children out here too, that can witness things like this, right? But let me continue. The ravager of the latter's wife was burned at the stake near Noonan, Georgia this afternoon in the presence of 2,000 people. The black man was first tortured before being covered with oil and burned. An ex-governor of Georgia made a personal appeal to his townspeople to let the law take its course, but without the slightest avail. They ain't listen. Before the torch was applied to the pyre, the Negro was deprived of his ears, fingers, and genital parts of his body. He pleaded pitifully for his life while the mutilation was going on, but stood the ordeal of fire with surprising fortitude. What did I just say? We're amazing even when we being destroyed. We are amazing. He stood the ordeal with surprising fortitude. Before the body was cool. Now really listen to this. This is why I say understand culture. Know who you dealing with. Listen to this. And y'all want these people as your bed partner. Before the body was cool, it was cut into pieces. The bones were crushed into small bits, and even the tree upon which the wretch met his fate was torn up and disposed of as souvenirs. The Negro's heart was cut out into several pieces, as was his liver. Though those unavailable to attain the ghastly relics direct paid their more fortunate possessors. Like I said, listen to the wording. Listen to the wording and the writing. The Negro's heart was cut into several pieces, as also his liver. Those unavailable to attain the ghastly relics direct paid their more fortunate possessors extravagant sums for them. Small pieces of the bone went for 25 cents, and a bit of the liver, crisply cooked, sold for 10 cents. As soon as the Negro was to be dead, there was a tremendous struggle among the crowd, which had witnessed his tragic end, to secure the souvenirs. A rush was made for the stake, and those near the body were forced against it and had to fight for their freedom. Knives were quickly produced, and soon as the body was dismembered, one of the men who lifted the can of kerosene of kerosene to the Negro's head, said to be a native of Pennsylvania. His name is unknown. Of course it is. His name is known to those who were with him, but they refused to divulge it. The mob was composed of citizens of Noonan, Georgia, Griffin, Palmetto, and other little towns in the country road around about Noonan, and of all the farmers who had received word that the burning was to take place. Now, I want to go back to something. He said no, just TikTok. Okay, I'm gonna open up my TikTok because I still have it. I just got off of it. I want to go back to this before I continue back. I want to go back to, remember I said pay attention to the wording. And this is how they criminalize you. This is how they criminalize people. And notice they're doing it with the Hispanics or immigrants right now. So notice this commercial that always comes on y'all TV, because I know if it come on your TV, it comes on my TV, it come on your TV, where Kristi Noem with her corrupt self, Kristi Noem comes on TV, and this is the ICE commercial, and they show the plane, and then they show a Hispanic with tattoos in his face, and they say if you're illegal, this runway is your fate. Anybody seen that commercial? This runway is your fate, and this is how they do. This is why I'm not a fan of the whole. This is why I was never a fan of the whole red pill thing. This is not why I'm not a fan of the whole single baby mama, the whole baby mama. That's why I'm not a fan of that. Because most of these raccoon tap dancers like Anton Daniels, or any of them dudes that's on Fit and Fresh, any of them goofies. If it's a Jason Whitlock, a Stephen A. Smith, notice with the raccoon, it's all about, much like his master, it's always a negative labeling of people. Jesse Lee Peters, oh, he's one of the worst ones. Because what you're doing is criminalizing, and you're putting an image on your people. And so when we see that, that sends a message. And I always say images are what? Advertisements for the mind. So an image is being advertisements for the mind. They want to put out the image that the black man and woman or the black child, all three of us, are criminal. We're criminals. Black on black crime. The white lady clutch her purse when the black man get on the elevator, when we ought to be the ones clutching our whatever we can clutch. Because of their ancestors, this stuff is still in their blood. See, when they come into that with this fake, because one of the white boys that was on my live the other day, and he couldn't contain himself because he is ancestors, right? He couldn't contain himself, and he decided to come off of, after I got off of my live, he made a beeline for my short, and one that I was talking about I think I was talking about FBA and how it's basically a tool of destruction, and they never address what you're talking about. Much like FBA, much like ADOS, if they don't like something, the first thing they're gonna do is come for something that they don't like. They're gonna destroy this, right? So the white boy, first thing he came in matter of factly to talk about the young brother that was found lynched, and he said that wasn't white people. I'm Irish. Now he told me he was Irish, right? And Irish was always looked at as the dirty bootlickers of them too. They Irish wasn't just what they think what they are. And they know these things. I don't have to get that history lesson. But he said he Irish. He said it was the Jews. He put it on the small hats. He said it wasn't the KKK, it was the Jews. Now he don't even know that. He don't know that. But his white arrogance will think or make him think he can matter of fact tell me who did that to that young man. And I told him, I said, well, and he said, I had nothing to do with that. That's the first thing they love to tell you. They love to tell you they don't want to hear about what you're saying because they ain't never did nothing to nobody. And I don't want to say because I don't feel like white people can feel guilt. As a collective, I feel like they are incapable of feeling guilt. You think any of these people that I just read you out of this felt guilt? They were fighting for the body parts to eat it. They were fighting for the body parts to eat it. You have to have a real foundational Black American history of not just who you are, but who they are. If you don't know who they are, how the hell are you going to know who you are and what to look out for? But the technology guys you talking about, them Africans. Africans don't even like us. Africans come over here, think they better than us. That could be true. There's some truth in that. Because they are misguided too. But the white boy been goddamn following you. The Karen following you through everywhere. And you omit that because the programming is designed for you to do that. You ain't gonna have no smoke for the Karen. She can, hey, what are you doing? Do you live here? Where you going? I want to see some identification. I've been studying these Karens, and I was looking at a video the other day, and this was a goddamn Karen Supreme. I've never seen one that got involved, and she stopped the damn police. Now the police was being called to a scene because it was a female was holding her dude hostage. They coming down the hallway. Super Karen jumps out and stops them and says, "Why y'all walking through here with y'all guns like this?" Now this the police she's stopping. She made them arrest her. She made them arrest her. Right? And what's funny, I said, now if she does this to the police, imagine what she'll do to a Black UPS driver. Imagine what she'll do to a Black postal worker. But see, if your cultural GPS is working, you understand certain areas. Go in these areas, but be aware. See, you go into the area looking for the wrong person. You go in here because this whole technology done taught you to be looking for somebody who's skin like this. Now, that's not saying be blind to that too, because we've been conditioned like them in America, so you don't know who it is. But my point is, you do more looking for this than this. And that's what they say on TikTok. When they point into their palms like some lames. It's conditioning. Where's my book? And I try to give out several books. Notice you never see Tariq Nasheed really talking about nothing. Tariq Nasheed is not conditioning y'all to understand. He's not talking about nothing. He's only talking about separating the line. Because Let me get this because I want to read y'all this. I want to read y'all this for a minute. And I have. Just hang tight with me. I probably have read this on all these books to fall. You know how you go for one thing and everything else goddamn fall. All right. So if y'all hear a boom, that's what it is. It's the books. Now, I want y'all to understand this. And I want y'all to understand. So if you on my live, because people give me stuff. I was on the live, somebody gave me some stuff to look up the other day. I don't see them in here to tell them about that. But look into what I'm saying. Don't just come to argue with me. Don't even just come just to listen to me. Come to listen, come to learn, come to understand. Because that's ultimately what it's gonna take. It's gonna take understanding. Nothing about me saying I rep this flag is gonna save me. Nothing about you saying you FBA is gonna really save you. Especially in these critical times of what's going on. We still doing this whole thing with each other, and they building concentration camps. I just saw it on TV. What you think? Who you think they concentrating on for those camps? Oh, you Black American, they not gonna bother you. That's what you really think. You really think that the ancestors of what I just read only focusing on the bad immigrants? And if you believe that, you just as gullible as the Hispanics that voted for him and said, no, he gonna get the bad guys. He's not gonna get us. They don't see bad guys. They see everybody as bad guys. Have you seen them? Have you seen them shaming or tracking down Russians, Ukrainians? You don't think no Ukrainians live here? You don't think no Ukrainians live here? When they say a golden era, I knew what the writing was when they were saying a golden era. And you had the handkerchief head, tap dancing Negroes feeling like something was in that red bag for them. But when they were talking about a golden era, they were talking about when we were hanging from trees, when they were able to openly do that and nobody cared. Notice I read that the townsmen pleaded with them to no avail. Law enforcement couldn't even stop them. Sound familiar? Sounds familiar? Sounds familiar that right after Trump is inaugurated in 2025, what do? They locked the quote-unquote Democrats out of their office. And I can remember Maxine Waters saying, this is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. I have never. Who was able to stop them? Elon Musk, they made up the fake Doge. Who was able to stop them? That's the reality I want you to understand. If they want to lock down this and turn off all of this stuff, who will stop them? What you gonna tell them? You an FBA? That your grandmama told you? They don't care about your grandmama. They don't care about my grandmama. You got to get to a real understanding of what America is, Jack. And get up out of this fantasy of what you want it to be and how you fit in this place. Make sense? But anyway, let me read this. And this book is called, I'm always going to try to give y'all receipts of what I'm reading to y'all. And if I don't, ask me what that is. The Tavistock Institute of Human Relations by John Coleman. The Tavistock Institute of Human Relations by John Coleman. And I'm going to read this from it, and this from another book that I got. And I don't know, y'all probably heard me read this on my YouTube short. But check this out. If we understand the mechanism and motives of the group mind, it is now possible to control and regiment the masses according to our will without them knowing. Bernays postulated. Now, who was Bernays? We're going to get to that. Bernays postulated. He, meaning Bernays, he called this technique engineering consent. One of his best known techniques of achieving this goal was the indirect use of what he called third party authorities to shape the desired opinions. Now, dig this, what I'm about to read. If you can influence the leaders either with or without their conscious cooperation, you automatically influence the group in which they sway. This technique he called opinion making. I'm going to read that one more time and then we're going to break it down. If we understand the mechanisms and motives of the group mind, it is now possible to control and regiment the masses according to our will without them knowing it. Bernays postulated. He called this technique engineering consent. One of his best known techniques of achieving this goal was the indirect use of what he called third party authorities to shape the desired opinions. If you can influence the leaders either with or without their conscious cooperation, you automatically influence the group in which they sway. This technique is called opinion making. Now, who is Bernays? This is who they would probably call the godfather of mind screwing. My word, not theirs. Edward Bernays. Look him up. Look up people like Edward Bernays, John B. Watson. I'll talk about these names all the time. Albert Bandura. Right? These people meant something. These people did something for a reason. And okay, so when he says it is now possible to control and regiment the masses according to our will, whose will you think they're talking about? So when we talking about, especially for you that's culturally confused and you can't stand black people, and you talk about the worst and how terrible black people are, that really grind my gears when people are like that. And how horrible black people are, right? You're not understanding. You're not understanding that in order to destroy the youth, which is the young ones right now, which is the young G's, not YNs, which is the young G's, it is important, it is imperative that you give them leaders or influencers like Kodak Black, Sexy Red, NBA Youngboy. They love NBA Youngboy. Lil Durk, Glorilla. You know, from that come Brorilla. Brorilla always takes me out, by the way. For my generation, it was Snoop Dogg. It was NWA. See, we came away. They got us away from like the poor righteous teachers. They got us away from Arrested Development that sang stuff like Everyday People. And listen to that song, Everyday People. They knew that they was African in that song. Right? They got away from Kid and Play. They eventually moved away from people like Heavy D. Because those were influencers. Heavy D didn't influence us. Go back and look at certain movies, and these are time markers, in my opinion, right? And what I mean is, when I look at movies like the Classic House Party, notice when they have the dance off, and they said that was such an organic scene. It was such an organic thing. Notice how happy they were. Notice how chill Heavy D was. Notice how chill Kid and Play was. Then somewhere down the line, here come NWA. No, niggas with attitude. Somewhere down the line come the Ghetto Boys. I love Ghetto Boys growing up. Somewhere down the line was 2 Live Crew. Somewhere down the line came Snoop Dogg. We don't love them, what? Bitches ain't shit, but these are mantras. These were programs. These were things that the influencers or the leaders were telling us. Y'all be so pressed about Jesse Jackson telling y'all was African American. More than NWA calling you a nigga with an attitude. Y'all so pressed about the wrong thing. But that's by design. So now, what did that birth? This generation, slime. What up, gang? Slime, young slime life. Young Thug, it introduced more genocide because that's what's needed. And then how do you keep your hands clean? They did it to themselves. You hear them in their music. This is how these people are. By God, they're criminal. See, here's what I call the God, I can't think. Self-fulfilling prophecy. So they've always depicted us. I'm gonna give y'all another book if I can find it. I don't think I have it in here. They've always depicted us in their image, right? This is why I think the imagery of the rap is so dangerous, because this is not really who we think we are. This is who they think we are. This is who they have shaped us to be. And I've given you 3-4 people that do behavior modification and shaping the consciousness and the mind of the people to go on. It's not just me talking. I just sat up here and read to you how Edward Bernays. There's a documentary interview with Albert Bandura. Right? Niggas mean king in Ethiopia. Just spelled different. See, but it's the intent, and it's a whole different use. Because see, when they call us, see if we called each other niggas or kings, if we met each other in that, I wouldn't have no problem. But it's a reason. I just saw a white boy get the hell beat out of him for standing up there calling the black man a nigger, hard ER. He got sent to the ER. Right? We got to understand the intent behind the word. Right? You know, it's just like negative connotations. Just like I did a thing, and maybe you can answer this. I said, when did being called female become a problem for the ladies nowadays? Right? And much like being called the NIGGA, and it ain't never ignorant getting goals accomplished. I love my boy Park, but that's not. We can't make that happen. Edward Bernays, Jimmy Iovine, Ralph Ginsburg, small hats. You tell me what they got in common, right? But we can't keep trying to make this stuff happening, because the reason I don't like it, and I said the same thing with the whole NIGGA thing. What you mean, Rob? It's them. What you mean? Anyway, we can't keep trying to make this a happening thing, and they get pressed about being called female, but don't care about being called bitches. Right? You triggered by one thing, but another derogatory thing that's really means derogatory. Because if it wasn't so derogatory, you would be able to use it. Our children would be able to use it in school. If NIGGA and BITCH was harmless, our children would be able to freely use it. They would be able to say to their teacher, if she give them a good grade, thank you, bitch. Or I really like you, nigga. But we know the intent behind it, right? I don't know if that's what he was trying to imply, because it's always funny that they try to imply and just give the blame to the small hat when it's them too. You can't just always give the give the blame to the small hat. You got to give the blame to the good old American white boy. You got to give it to the good old Ronald Reagan. I told y'all the other day to look up the Franklin scandal, the Franklin cover up. We all talking about the Epstein file. Look at the Franklin cover up. So that's what the white boy do. The white boy come in and try to throw the blame on somebody else. He love to be racist and tell you where you go. He love to use the Nigger word. But then he'll try to throw the blame on the small hat. Like the one tried to do the other day. They don't like the small hat either. Because they constantly want to control how they look. That's one thing about them. I give them credit. They work overtime to try to make their image look good. Because only in their schizophrenic mind can they put in the movie that they the villain and the hero at the same time. And the reason we can't look at this thing deeper on a psychological level, and the reason we can't examine racism on a psychological level, because they don't want blame ever pointed at them. I didn't own any slaves. Notice how they get. Notice how they start washing their hands. I didn't own any slaves. I don't know why you're upset with me. I didn't have anything to do with that, but you benefit off of it. You ain't got no problem with J.D. Vance saying you ain't got to apologize to be white. When in all actuality, you've never had to give apology for nothing. You gonna tell me this, but then you don't want to talk about the Rooney Rule in the NFL. There's no Bobby rule. There's never been a rule that we had to have to make white people feel included. There's never been no Jim Crow. But they want to pass the buck to the small hat. Share this. Y'all take accountability. Y'all take credit for everything else but racism. But your genocide. You don't want that. Then you want that to be a shared general. Well, that's just how people are. Because see, one thing we got to do when we examining this stuff, because they love to say we're innately criminal, right? There's another book. I'm going to give y'all a lot of books. Breaking Rank by Norm Stamper. And the whole thing that he said in that book, he said that I was looking to see if I have it. And he says in that book, he says, it ain't on, and I'm paraphrasing because I can't read it directly. He says, it's no secret. We all know it. They know it too, but white people would never admit it. That white police officers are afraid of black men. Now notice I'm saying I'm paraphrasing. It's not a direct quote. The bigger the blacker, the bigger the threat. And that they're trained to unalive first, basically. So when they get into the technology, and we got to stop going into these places saying we demand better police training. There's no such thing. How can you train a savage? We got to demand, when it's us, we say, you got to demand better police training. Hold on, white folks, I'm going to get to you before, I'm going to beat you to your punch. Before you say, we don't comply. I love when y'all say that. Watch a 24 hours of Karen videos and tell me about complying. Tell me about, watch 24 hours of Karen and then get back to me and tell me about how we don't comply. I just told you the mega Karen stopped the police in the hallway and asked them where they was going. But because this is why I say y'all don't have souls, because y'all are void of a guilt. You're void of emotions. How do I know you're void of emotions? Because no person that feels any sympathy or anything could sit around and watch or witness what I just read. And that was just one page. But you're always dealing with the projecting narcissist because that's the cultural fabric of America. Notice Donald Trump don't take, he takes credit for everything. Notice he gonna tell you that he been the best president in history. Everybody love him. While his ranking completely continues to tank and go in the toilet. But this was America designed. Don't ever, this is my opinion, but my opinion, don't ever think that this was about voting or not voting. This was straight up New World Order. I'm watching them talk about how AI is now going to the crosswalks. That they're going to be able to predict when we can walk across the street before we even know. Total technology, total surveillance, total control. They love to pass the buck to the small hat, but who controls it? Yeah, you got a small hat. You got Adam Silver. You got him as the overseer of the NBA, but he got bosses. Who is that? Who is that? I had to write that name down. See, this is what I say. I like when people come in and give me. See, this is what we got to do. And to me, there's no one person and one mind. We got to get away from. You say, OMG, must be somebody. I'm going to write it down. Thank you. That's pronounced Toko. That's what it looked like. Okay. But see, that just show you how our resilience. Notice when I read that, notice, and is your name Key? Can I call you Key, or how do I pronounce your name? But notice when I just read that story, how they say, even when they was pouring kerosene on him and oil before they set it on fire, he withstood it with surprising fortitude. And this is why we are the ultimate anomaly that they can't figure out. Why do you people? Queen K, got you, K. I'm gonna call you either Queen K or K. That's cool. They can't. We the ultimate anomaly because they be like, God damn, we do all this stuff to these people. We do all this stuff to these people. God damn, I mean, and we know what we do to them. We ain't crazy. We doing it. And they still resilient. Of course you gonna say that. See, this is what I mean. Justice is important. I believe our real power is in what we build, not who we blame. See, this is what I mean. See, this is why you can never be in the spaces. This is why I do believe in separatism. Because you avoid feeling, right? You, Rob. I don't know. Are you white, Rob? What is your race? What is your race, your ethnicity? Are you white? Because see, this is a real white answer. Justice is important. I believe our real power. Okay. So okay, non-black. So but you think from a westernized point. That's why I said that's a real westernized point. So your ethnicity could be different, but you not like me. No what? No, you're not westernized in your thinking? No, enlighten me. Because you can tell me your ethnicity. What I'm telling you is your thinking pattern. You can tell me the shade of your skin all day. What I'm doing is telling what I'm telling you, so we won't be having two different conversations. You can go down and break it down to me what that is, but I want you to understand where I'm coming from. I'm not interested in your ethnicity when you give me a statement like that, because when you give me a statement like that, that's just like Tucker Carlson. Okay. So once you give me the whole Christian minority thing, see, you just give me more understanding of your mindset, Rob. I asked your ethnicity because I always want to know who I'm talking to. That's important. But you have a westernized, Eurocentric mindset. That's my thing. I want you to understand what I'm saying. You could be from wherever you're from, my guy. But when you give me a statement like you just said, so this is like you telling me, okay, this is like you would be telling me atrocities you went through from the Middle East, right? And I come flat out and tell you who you should be blaming and who you should not blame. Okay, that's cool. But see, when y'all come in this, and I'm gonna say when I'm saying y'all, I'm saying people that got a westernized mindset. Because what I'm saying to you, Rob, you sound just like the Irish guy the other day. He told me he Irish, right? But the same thing is, okay, you say you Assyrian. Am I pronouncing it correct? He said he Irish. Y'all sound just like the MAGA that come in. Because the first thing y'all lead with, okay, thank you, sir. The first thing y'all lead with is who we blame. If there was a study, Rob, and in this study, Rob, they were talking about mice, and they did a mice experiment, and we're gonna get back to this conditioning, right? Stay with me, Rob. They introduced, and this is also, you can look up Albert Bandura in the Bobo doll experiment, right? So you're not just gonna talk to a black guy that's just blaming. I'm gonna walk you through the blame game, right? And in this experiment with mice, they had regular mice. And before they had these regular mice, there was no fear, there was no trauma, there was no anxiety. Right, Rob? Stay with me. They introduced the mice to electric shock, and they shocked the mice so much. And as they would document and write down and record, week by week, month by month, over a time span, just turning on the sound of the machine gave the mice trauma. Follow where I'm going, right? Now, the mice breed offspring. Isn't that what I'm saying? They breed a what, Rob? Offspring. And breeding the offspring of those mice had the same reaction to just hearing the machine also. Traumatized in their genetics. Right. So, back to this, Rob. If I can read you 100 years of this, and if you can see that there were Jim Crow laws, that we didn't even have fair places to eat. We are the mice, Rob. And if you want to go more about the mice, look up B.F. Skinner in the Skinner box. Operant conditioning. It's full of that. Right? You could dismiss and say it's not about who we blame. Because see, that's how the westernized white boy want us to do, Rob. They want us to forget and say, okay, we lynched your people. Sure, we gave y'all shitty education, if we even gave y'all education. We gave y'all what was left over from us. Sure, we sick dogs on y'all. Sure, we kaboomed y'all churches with little girls in it. But y'all always blaming somebody. Now to put this on thing, because you said it's about justice, right? So here in America, on these justice scales, why is there a blindfold around the justice scale, Rob? Because it's blind to certain things. Go look up Vince McMahon and his DUI. I want you to do this, Rob, because you open, right? I don't have time for jackasses and people that come in ignorant, right? We can all learn something in this. Queen K, she always comes in and she give me insight. I would think she's been riding with me for a while. I would like to think I give her insight, right? You said justice. Now, justice is fairness. Is that cool to say, Rob? Justice would imply fairness? Like, down the middle. We call it, we don't care who you are, right? Still with me, Rob? Would you say justice would imply fairness? Sure. Appreciate it, Rob. You said sure. Okay. So, there's these videos. I told you I've been studying the mind of these Karens and just people being arrested. So you got regular people that's being arrested for DUI. There's a one Hispanic chick. She hit a car. She didn't even know where she was at. She was so inebriated or on a substance. I'm learning YouTube. So she didn't even know where she was. She was disoriented and caused all kind of crashes. Airbag deployed, everything. Now, what's that got to do with Vince McMahon, you ask? Vince McMahon was speeding in his goddamn car, going so fast, he hit a Mercedes-Benz. Hit a Mercedes-Benz. He did what to the Mercedes-Benz, Rob? Hit the Mercedes-Benz. I'm talking about earthly justice. On earth as it is where? In heaven, wherever that is. As above, so below, Rob. Come on now. You being dismissive. I'm talking about being earthly dismissive. You're being dismissive. You're being dismissive to a people's experience on earth. You're being dismissive to a people's experience and pain on earth, Rob. If you told me something happened to your family generationally, my first thing wouldn't be to tell you, Rob, is stop blaming people. If I ran my car into your house, Rob, whose fault is that? Who would you blame? Did you run? Did you run my car into your house? And then if I got out the car and said, yeah, you always complaining. That's one thing with you people. I done tore up your goddamn. Me and me alone. Thank you, Rob. So, let me get back to the mice. But I won't tell you about Vince McMahon, but I'm going to get back to the mice. Vince McMahon driving down the street, hit a car. Out of his mind. I don't know if he was inebriated or on a substance. What do you think that outcome was for Vince McMahon? Not only did the officer take his license and say, oh, I know who you are. They had a car to come pick him up. Vince McMahon so low down, he didn't even ask was the person okay that he hit. But you want me to look at fairness? Hmm? You want me to look at fairness when Kyle Rittenhouse can go where he want to go and unalive people at a thing, and he's being met. He can walk up on officers with his blicky. But then we have a gentleman named Muhammadu. I always forget how to pronounce his name. But the gentleman that reached for his wallet. I always forget, and forgive me for remember how to pronounce his name. But he reached for his wallet and was unalived. So when we're talking about this fairness, okay, somebody playing the game of sport, okay, Ryan Garcia, I don't know if you're watching boxing, Rob. You in the ring fighting somebody, but he's on a performance enhancer. Is that a fair fight? Because he's got an advantage. Right? So this is what I want y'all, because y'all are looking at the experiences. I don't know how you look at black people, but it sounds mighty whitewashed how you look at black people in our experience, Rob. All I'm going on is what you put in my messages. You seem like a decent guy, but your empathy and understanding level sounds like a Klansman. Not full blown, but you got Klan-like tendencies. Right? Because like I said, your first thing is to dismiss. If I accidentally hurt and ran my car into something, my first thing wouldn't be to get out with an attitude. My first thing would be, I messed up. Is everybody okay? Compassion. And that's what we deal with in America. That's our experience in America. The lack of compassion. Now they totally turned us to the monsters. Now get back to that mice. Generational trauma. Social learning theory. Behavior modification. I just gave you 3 people. I gave you John B. Watson. I gave you Albert Bandura. I gave you B.F. Skinner. As a bonus, I gave you Edward Bernays. Got to understand. If we are the same people that we are now, why weren't we savages like this when we were getting hit with water hoses? Why were there things like laughing barrels that was created for us to stick our head down in as black people in America? Stick our head down in these barrels, Rob, and laugh in the presence of white folks. And when we bring our head out that barrel, Rob, we better have a straight face. Or guess what? To the tree. Okay. You said no. But see, that's how it can come across, Rob. That's all I'm saying. See, and you said it straight up. You said it for coming across like that. That might not have been your intention, but we hear that so much, Rob. We're never able to have conversations with all of these open, fair, non-racist people, Rob. They ain't found my live yet. But when they found my live, we had to count the other day. I don't know if my sister Queen K was on with me. I think she was because she rides with me. And I said, we're gonna count how many times we hear I'm crying victim. 5, 6, 7. Then I got off the live because I had been on for a while like I am now. But do you know how many times me personally, just as a single black man, hear, stop crying. All you guys do is play the victim. And let's do this from a standpoint of parenting. Let's say you had shoddy parents, right? And you just want to get an understanding because maybe your mom or your dad was shoddy towards you, and they give you no understanding, they give you no love, they give you no reason, they give you a get out of my face. I didn't do that. Stop blaming me for your downfall. You got to understand how generational trauma works. Are there things that I think my people have to be accountable for? Absolutely. But we have to be aware that there's a problem before I can take accountability. I got to be aware that there was a problem that I just drove my car into your house before I can take accountability. But if I jump out of that car and say, man, fuck your house was too close anyway, raw shit, fuck you talking about, blah, 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 blah. But if I jump out with sincerity and say, oh my God, I don't know what happened. I swear I swerved and missed the hit, tried to hit the dog and I lost control. I am so sorry. And I show genuine compassion. Is everybody okay? I come across a little different. But when we done had water hoses turned on us, when we done had civil rights leaders, whether people like them or not, unalive, Medgar Evers, Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, whether you like Martin Luther King or not, unalive for just trying to do better. Because the goal is, Rob, it's not designed for us to do better. If we're in a better position, we think better. If we think better, we can't be controlled. If we can't be controlled, they don't have an advantage. Let me see if I can find that, because I couldn't find it the other day. And I was talking about the post Elon Musk retweeted. He's South African. Go back to this, where he was born, but his mind is so European. Because if it wasn't, he wouldn't even agree with this. He would be thinking about the South Africans that he grew up around. Right? Let me see if I can find that post. And that's my problem. My problem why I don't want to deal with others is because they lack compassion. And I'm tired of hearing that. I'm tired of not being able to sit down and just have a genuine understanding. And because at some point, you stop trying to talk. You stop trying to give understanding to people that lack understanding. I always say talking to some of them people is like talking to this pen. And this is what I was saying the other day. That because that's all they kept coming into my live to say. Oh, I hear a lot of victimization. I hear a lot of victim. But they don't ever want to look at how they victimize. So this is where the whole critical race theory come in. They constantly move the goalposts so they don't have to hear anything. And so I question anybody. I mean, Rob, are you a Trump supporter? Absolutely, Rob. Absolutely. I don't know if you was in when I was talking about the music session, but how do we go from, you said no, okay. How do we go from Heavy D, Kid and Play, Arrested Development, X-Clan, Public Enemy, to NWA, Snoop Dogg, Bone Thugs and Harmony, Ghetto Boys? Yep, absolutely, Queen K. And music is one of the ultimate things that can get into you and alter your emotions without your consent. Now, what I mean by that, it can not only alter your consent, your mood, but your emotional state. I'm still looking for this post. What I mean by that is, if we listening to Queen K if we listening to a gospel song, how our emotional state be? If we listening to an old gospel song, because I grew up religious. My journey is what I found independent of that. But if we all play a gospel song, you think we gonna feel brolic and want to bust a fool in the head? How about not having ties to a homeland? How about not having ties to a homeland? What is the real cultural identity of a black person? Will you ever feel American? Great question, Rob. Let me get to your first part of the question. How about not having ties to a homeland? How about not having ties and how about not having ties to your homeland? How about whatever make you feel a Syrian, not having ties to that and having that beat out of you and stripped out of you? You feel void. I feel a void. I feel like a hybrid. Right? Okay. Next one. What is the real cultural identity of a black person? Mine is always my African mindset. Now, if you ask a black person that, if you ask 50 black people that, like my folks, Queen K just said, our homeland is America. So she told you hers. So I think if you ask 10 of us that, you're going to get probably 7 or 10 different answers. Back to us being scrambled, right? And will I ever feel American? No. No. I will never feel American. Here's why I know I'm American. And here's why, Rob. Because I know my experience in America. See, to feel at home, you feel comfortable. You feel loved. You feel appreciated. You feel safe. So that's my answer. Now, my fam, Queen K, she might have a different answer, and that's her prerogative. But me, no, I will never feel it. And I always say, ain't nothing wrong with being American. I don't bang on a black person that say they American. That however they feel, right? But when I say to be Americanized, you think like Anton Daniels. You think like Jason Whitlock. You think like Stephen A. Smith. You're a Pavlovian dog, right? Your job is to sick them. You like Byron Donald. Byron Donald don't have no respect in that cabinet. And he know it. You like Candace Owens. Where am I from? The world. Right? So that's how I feel. Because I know that and because I've read so much and I understand my cultural self. Have you ever read Propaganda by Edward Bernays? Rob? I'm still looking for this post, by the way. Because I definitely want to read this. And I know it's in here. Because I paraphrased it earlier. And I don't like to paraphrase when I really got the information. And I always focus on what we've been turned into. Right? Now, we're resilient. Oh, and her answer to that question about gospel music, back to the whole music thing. I got the post right here. Back to the whole music thing. I asked my folks, Queen K, I said, how do you think we would feel if we turn on a gospel song? Her answer was joyful. Okay? If we turn on a love song, I'm going to answer. We feel, I don't like to say romantic, but for the sake of the conversation, we feel romantic. If we play Love by Musiq Soulchild, we feel affectionate. If anybody got a different word, put it in the chat. Now, we turn on DMX, y'all gonna make me lose my mind up in here. Now, and I'm saying not playing these at different time frames. If we play all three of these songs back to back, we're gonna get into a different emotional state through each song. So what I gotta do with the conversation, Obasi, that if we constantly just hear drill music, what they done to the youth, drill music, shoot that, do this to that, Repetition is the mother of learning. This is how we condition. This is why images and commercials are so important. To me, this is why the Super Bowl is the one time a year that they spend millions and millions and millions of dollars on commercials. Because that's the most programmative state that you got all people attention. I don't care where they from. That's the whole humanity thing. That you can be a Syrian, a Syrian. I can be who I am. My sister, she can be who she is. White boy, racist, he can be who he is. But we all love the Eagles. Go Eagles. I don't love no Eagles, but I'm just saying. Go Eagles. Go Chiefs. Go whoever. Right? But the programming, there's a reason you don't see. So the devaluing of a people also can come through music. The value of a people can come through music, but the devaluing of people can also come through music. Right? So I'm an 80s and 90s guy. So I grew up with Snoop Dogg. That's why I can't stand Snoop Dogg now. Because he's the ultimate raccoon sucker. I'm gonna say that for TikTok, for YouTube purposes. And what I don't like about a lot of these rappers is they never atone or apologize or take any responsibility for them shaping the mindsets of the people. You know, they always talked about, Rob, the meeting that changed hip hop. This has always been a fact, but rumor, depending on how you want to look at it. And there was always this story, Rob, of how they wanted to take hip hop into a different direction. Queen K might know what I'm talking about. That they wanted to take hip hop into a different direction. They wanted to get it away from that good time that we was just talking about, Rob. And they wanted to take it into a more gangster, as old funky Kevin Nash say, urban way. Because they needed to fill up these prisons. Because how else do you get slavery? Through imprisonment now, right? So they done gave us the whole dare to be different. Because from what I'm learning about YouTube, if you mention certain substances, they strike you. So a thing that we turn to rock and they put into the community and it destroyed us. We still ain't fully recovered from that, right? Right? So in this meeting that they say, alleged, but factually happened, they wanted to make it more genocidal because they need to fill these prisons up. But who they use to do it? Who they criminalize? Black people. So they needed the artists to start rapping a certain way. And once they gave us this narcotic substance, and now you hear dudes say, I think I'm Big Meech, Larry Hoover, flipping work, hallelujah. And once they gave us trap music, money, hoes, cars, and clothes, that's how all my niggas roll. Rolling dro on 24s. I'm doing this for a reason. Once they gave us the clips, I'm from Virginia, what ain't shit to do but cook. Grab it triple twice, the book. All of these, what I just read to you, if we understand the mechanism and the motives of the group mind, it is now possible to control and program the masses according to our will without them knowing it. Bernays postulated. He called this technique engineering consent. One of his best known techniques of achieving this goal was the indirect use of what he called third party authorities. Why did I sing all them damn rap songs for no reason? Third party authorities to shape the desired opinions. If we can influence the leaders either with or without their conscious cooperation, you automatically influence the group in which they sway. This technique he called opinion making. So when we mindlessly listening to this stuff, our opinion is being made right then. So we just talking about the music. We ain't even got to the movies. What my family say? Yep. So the prison they invested in would be filled up with the smallest of the smallest kids. Absolutely. And label it as leadership. This is why the Honorable Malcolm X said, show me in the white community where we got entertainers leaders. He said, we got Dick Gregory, Lena Horne. Now we got T.I. I like rapping. What T.I. doing to 50 Cent, I like it. What I like him doing as a politician, I don't. I don't like Killer Mike as a politician. Jesse Ventura can be whatever he want to be because it blurred the lines. It's the ultimate bipolar schizo thing, right? 1 minute they talking about justice and cleaning up the streets. The next minute they talking about pulling out them yappers. We can't do both. We can't walk and drive at the same time. Right? So when you shape the opinions, and this is why the raccoon or the house ninja is so diabolical. This is why it is such an incentive to be a red pillar. And the red pillar can get thousands and thousands and thousands of views off of telling you not to take care of your children. And if she got children, how raggedy she is. Huh, Cam Newton. Cam Newton is a great football player. Love to hear him talk about football. But when Cam Newton started talking about being a man, and that stuff I don't like. Because he's having the same repetitive message of a woman loses her value the more she has children. Now, when I say whenever Rob is a Syrian, how do they talk about how do they speak on how do I want to ask you this question, Rob, if you're still in the building? How is raising or rearing children or being fathers as Assyrian men looked at in your culture? Are you taught at the dinner table to look down on your woman? Or are you taught to be a family man? You tell me, you educate me about your culture. Do y'all have single mother conversations and how single Assyrian mothers ain't squat when you with your friends? Is that the type of conversation that y'all normally have? I'm talking about have it so often that it's just what you do. See? Queen K, look at that. He said, no, my dad is definitely the head of the household. But he honored my mom. We don't have many single families. Thank you for what you're saying. I actually would like to do something. I actually wish I could have you. I don't know how to do this panel. Queen K was trying to educate me, but I wish I could have you on a panel. Because some of these things we have to do an observation about. We don't have many single families, but it's growing. The more we are living where, Rob, the more you living in the West. Because when in Rome, don't do as the Romans. But when in Rome, they do as the goddamn Romans. And we know how them freaky Romans get. The more you living in the West, Rob, the more it rub off on you. So back to your original question that you asked me, my guy that came in and have been beneficial to the conversation and not an adjutant to the conversation. You asked me, would I ever feel American? So think about it. You say you just been here. I don't know how long you been here, Rob, but you said the more you living here, the more that stuff rubbing off on you. Imagine never not being here. How would your mindset be growing up? See, that's the type of conversation they don't want to have. I don't care about numbers, but in a way, I do wish I had 500 people listening to me. Because see, this type of stuff Anton Daniels ain't gonna want to talk about because it ain't gonna put that in his pocket. This is stuff Cam Newton and T.I. not gonna break down on an elite level. This is stuff LeBron James ain't gonna talk about. Back to them leaders that me and Queen K was just talking about. You don't have that talk in your culture because you still connected to your culture, Rob. So the further you, let's say 2 generations out, Rob. Let's say 2 generations, let's go to 3 generations, Rob. I'm gonna push the envelope a little bit. Let's say 3 generations out from your people, and they say, we ain't Assyrian, we foundational Assyrians. And you begin to have all of these identity crises. And how do you think being stripped from your culture just in 3 generations, what do you think that next generation is gonna be like, Rob? See? See? Look at what you just said, my guy. We won't exist that many generations out. We won't exist. You'll be extinct. And it is because of our resilience that we still, because we keep slipping through the cracks. There's a me that slipped through the crack. There's a Queen K that slipped through the crack. Now, no matter if she say, I'm American, our home is American, she has never been disrespectful to that. I don't care that. Because guess what? If I go anywhere else, they're going to know I'm American. So I'm not delusional of who I am. I just understand what happened. Right? So I'm never saying I'm totally not American. What I will say, y'all, is I'm not Americanized. I'm not westernized. Because the moment I become westernized, I don't care about my people. Because it's impossible to be indoctrinated and westernized and still have sanity. Rob just broke that down with his own answers. Rob just walked me through that with his own answers. This is the type of conversation we have to have. Uninterrupted. But you know we always gonna have a jackass in the bunch. And not on no rainbow coalition. Because I don't think that we beyond that. We beyond holding hands and swinging and all of us loving each other. No, we don't need to. Everybody don't need to get along, but everybody need to respect each other. We can't love each other if we don't respect each other. We can't hold hands and get along if we don't even understand each other. We are out of our minds in the West. You have dudes that still got their beard and they tallywhacker. They're saying they women. He got his beard and his tallywhacker telling you he a woman. How, Sway? We have females that saying they're men. It is America represents an insane asylum. We have a reality star as the freaking president. That really reminds me of the Mustache Man. What we watching, that's why I don't play the immigrant game. That's why I don't be closed-minded and call people immigrants. Because the white boy go around and colonize wherever he want to go. But then he want to put barriers on and say they can't come over here. They ain't hurting me by coming over here taking jobs. They have never slowed me down. It's never been nothing but white supremacy that has slowed people down. It's never been immigrants coming over. Now, their mindset of how they think when they come over, that's a whole nother conversation that needs to be had. But see, the technology of them is making you always think that it's somebody else. And I hope you follow me, Rob, because I can, you tolerable in the space. You know what I'm saying? And that's the thing. I don't care who in my space. You got to know how to just sit down and cool it, though. Because guess what, Rob? If you was telling me about your history, that's what I would do. I would do the same. I would give you the same luxury that you're giving me. I would ask you questions. I would sit down and listen. And no matter the best thing you tell me about your lineage or the worst thing you tell me about your lineage, I'm gonna meet you in understanding because I want to understand your lineage. I can't speak on your lineage. I can't speak on the atrocities. And that's what our problem is. That's what our problem is. Now, I do want to screenshot this, Rob, and I do want to screenshot this and just elaborate on your opinion. I'll blot your name out, but I want to elaborate on your level of understanding, not just for everybody, but for my people. I want my people to understand that if we keep running away and not understanding who we are, and the more we're running toward this westernized way of thinking, we ain't gonna exist. So I really appreciate y'all. Rob, I hope you follow me. Queen K, salute to you. I don't know how to find you on TikTok. I'm gonna open up my TikTok just for you. Because I really would like to give you oh, Queen K, that is cool. Hey, I appreciate your honesty. Thank you. Likewise. Oh, I think I know you. I'm gonna screenshot your name. I think I've seen you. Now that you say, now I got, I got to break down what you just said. You just gave me a laugh before we got out the door. Oh man, you says I am lesbian, but I don't think I'm a man. I appreciate logical thinking. Absolutely. Um, you know, we are at a point that we have to just teach understanding. Whether I agree with same sex or not, we don't have to beat things down. This is what I try to spread. I don't have to agree with your lifestyle, but I'm not gonna disrespect it. Because guess what? And I pick up energy. So you the type of person that even though you have your style, I got family members that's a lesbian. And they understand my point of view. They understand how I look at things. But we able to sit down and have some of the most dopest conversations. Because I see them for who they are. Right? And the most important thing is they don't want to force that on children. Right? So I appreciate your level of being able to sit down and understand. And that's cool. You know, because that's where it is, you know. I think a lot of these people, now here's the thing before I land the plane, y'all. Now this is the funny thing about these Trumpers, especially these black Trumpers, who fucking hysterical to me. So when I asked them, I said, hey, you know, and they pretty much like the westernized white boys and white girls. I said, hey, you know, what made y'all, you know, vote for the Tangerine Toucher? What what brought y'all to that point? And they're gonna have 3 answers. I've never heard nothing outside these 3 answers, y'all. They either gonna tell me taxes and money bracket, LGBT, or the whole training thing, which I don't agree with at all. And I could do a whole show about that, or live about that, or the whole. Okay, it's gonna be either the money, the LGBT, or what's the other one? What's the other one? I ain't down with that. Or they don't want them to go in the bathroom. You know, same thing. I feel like it's another one. And as soon as I get off, I'm gonna think about it. And okay, so when I pressed them and I said, okay, cool. Well, you got a problem with that, but you don't have no problem with the Epsteins and how you get down with the PDF thing. Because see, I never hear them talk about this whole PDF thing. Again, it's back to what I was talking about earlier in the live, how a woman can be offended by being called a female, but not a bitch. So when I listen to their illogical logic and they'll tell me, you know, they voted, you know, because they don't want the trannies in the bathroom. Cool, I can understand that. I don't want them in the bathroom either. But I say, okay, well, but y'all don't have no problem with the PDF thing. That is what's problematic and is disingenuous to me. That you so focused on this that this don't bother you. This is a blatant threat to children. Versus that right there. So, and I don't really, I can't talk to Trumpers. I can't talk to them. I don't care what race they are, colors they are. I definitely can't talk to black Trumpers because I just can't wrap my head around that y'all could hear a person speak the way he speaks and do the things he do, and then you can tell me, that he's shaping things up, and it's just one of them things. But this is probably gonna be my name going forward, the cultural GPS. You know, we're gonna talk definitely more and get y'all familiar with the whole cultural GPS understanding, and it just keep your head on the swivel and stay out of these all white spaces. Queen K, Rob, I appreciate your understanding and your chill. I appreciate your understanding and your chill. With that being said, peace.